Hello and welcome to Smiling Souls. This is Stephanie Keenan Ray and Wendy Tadiucci. How you doing today?
Hey, oh my gosh. I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah.
Lots of things are happening. Oh my gosh. So did a little workshop the other day, The Art of Receiving.
Mm-hmm.
It was so well received. And the big takeaway that one woman said was, oh, receiving isn't rushing.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, oh dang, that's right downable. That was her takeaway.
Yeah.
So that was just so much fun because there is an art to receiving.
There is. Yeah.
And when you block yourself from that, you block yourself from a lot of beautiful, good things that allow you to open yourself up. So I just had a lot of fun doing that. That's part of the Peaceful Pages Collective. When you're a member, you get access to that recording and lots of others. So I'm still buzzing about that.
That's awesome.
How about you, Steph?
Well, I'm thrilled that today I'm hosting my first storytelling sessions for the Creative Network. So super excited. Basically, for Christmas, I got myself the Moth storytelling game. And there's these cards in here that have different prompts. And so I'll just randomly pull a card. And whoever shows up to the call, we will tell stories. We will share stories around that card. It's to kind of hone that muscle of storytelling and talking off the cuff and just getting comfortable sharing and telling stories. And, perhaps maybe something will come alive that makes you want to work on it, tweak it, tell it in a different way, or it helps add to something you're already presenting. But I just want to hone that storytelling skill, and I want to make it in a fun, joyful way. So, yeah, I've decided once a month we're going to do this as part of the Creative Network, and it's today. So it'll be once a month on Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern. But yeah, the creative session, the creative community, the Natural Beauties, Arts and Ideas creative community is getting abundant with events, which I love. We've got Jessica's going to start doing a writing club, the supportive scribblers. So again, getting people who again do not consider themselves writers to show up. She'll give a prompt. You can just practice writing and again honing that skill. She's a writer and an editor, so if you have something you want to bring to her, she can go into a breakout and do that. We've got the creative sanctuaries. We've got a couple, this month, Jen Nichols is going to do a creative playhouse where we will learn. What are we going to learn? Dang it, I forgot.
You're so abundant, you can't keep all the abundance.
No, I was going to tell you about what I think she's doing in another month. But she's going to do a goal-setting vision board.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that'll be really cool. And then we've got the Aspire to Be workshops, the master classes, where people share their expertise that helps us grow personally and professionally. So it's really become an abundant space. And then when you add, if you did CEO, you get the Dare to Be plus what we offer there. It's just
all the goodness.
Amazing. So much support, so much growth and opportunities for people to tap into. And yet you tap into what resonates, right? You don't have to go to everything. That's so some people are like, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm like, you are not expected to show up to everything. You have a life and a job. Like, it's okay.
Yeah. And it's like a buffet, right?
Yeah.
Just choose what looks good to you.
Yeah. No, and again, we record things like the master classes so that people have that to access later. Nice. And some of the creatives, depending on what they are, like the where it's a group led activity. Depending on what it is, I'll record it so that people can go back and rewatch it and go like, how did they do that?
I
so
love that. I love
it's
all the
really
abundance.
cool. Yeah, it's super abundant. It's really good. And I'm really excited for today. So yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. Should we do oracle cards?
We should.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to show you though, so that I don't pick up my water mug. This new Team Jess sticker that Wendy sent me the other day. It was so funny. I saw an envelope on the counter, and like Joe went to give me a kiss, and meanwhile I'm like leaning over, like looking, going, I know that handwriting. Who is that? What is that?
It's your Team Jess sticker. Yeah. Let us know in the comments. Totally off kilter here, but let us know what team you are. Gilmore Girls related. Are you Team Dean? Are you Team Jess? Are you Team Logan? Let us know, because I want to know. Okay, anyway. You want to do your card first, Steph?
I'm a straight up Luke girl, okay?
Oh, you're Team Luke. All right.
No, girl. I'm kidding. I'm Team Jess. But let's see. So for me, for my oracle cards, I have my Rooted Woman, and I pulled today C.
Ooh.
Yes. C is in the ocean, not the letter. I like the card. It says, plumbing the depths. The sea is so changeable that it's impossible to really anticipate its mood. The sea is continuously in motion, ebbing and flowing, shifting from tide to tide. On a stormy day, it's intimidating, a reminder of the raw, unpredictable power of its beauty. Animate the earth we inhabit. On a bright summer's day, when the sun warms the shallows and the light sparkles off the water, lifts our spirits, and we might remember that it's the home from which we originally came. Whatever face it might turn to us, the essence of the sea is the depths of its waters. This card encourages us to go deep, even if we're afraid there might be monsters. There are times when we need to step out of the shallows of life and plumb the depths, to turn inward and find the source of wisdom that lies deep inside us. And to make that choice, we need courage. Inside each of us, there's a vast and deep terrain, and to begin to understand who we really are, what our gifts are, and what we might dream of becoming in this life, we need to begin to explore it. We need to move out of the safe shallows of the ego to our conscious mind and turn our attention to all that remains hidden within us and is unconscious. Dreams are one of the most important ways that our unconscious psyche can communicate with us, and so the C card invites us all to pay attention to our dreams and to imagine the characters and scenarios which present themselves to us while we're sleeping.
Hey, you know what song I have in my head now?
This little light of mine. No.
A Star is Born in the Shallow, right? I don't know if that's the name of it, but you know what I'm saying? Mm-mm. It's in
the song.
Yeah, the song. Mm-hmm. Sarah knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Lady Gaga and
yeah.
Ah, yes. Okay.
And before that, it was Barbara Streisand.
And
Chris Christopherson.
Yes.
And before that, it was not Liza Minnelli. Her daughter, Judy Garland.
Yeah.
Did the original, and I forget who the guy was. Anyway, that song's in my head. If you don't know it, just Google it.
I do know it. I just wasn't what I was hearing when
you said shallow and in the depths, yes. And I'm like, oh.
Yes. Yes. Well, it seems very timely for me in many ways, like the going inward. Like there were so many words in that write-up that I've been saying for the past 2 weeks.
I love
yes.
that. Isn't that amazing?
Crazy. Yes.
The universe knows, God knows what card you need.
Sure does. So I guess I'm going deep into the dark waters.
And you will be supported.
Yes, of course.
All right. Well, I pulled from Angels and Ancestors the Heart Guardian. Ooh. Love and let yourself be loved. And I noticed, check this out, there are hidden Mickeys.
They're hearts.
totally unrelated, but they're hidden Mickeys. Okay, here we go. Welcome with open arms, opportunities to give and receive love. The heart guardian is an angelic energy that can help you call for protection and guidance with all issues surrounding the heart. This is essentially the angel who helps you with all relationships, whether they be with yourself, family, or even a romantic connection. She can enable you to move beyond any limiting fears about trust, discern whom to trust, and understand how you can move forward in a balanced relationship with that person. Mm-hmm. In this card, she is adorned with a sacred heart. I noticed that. And draped in a red cloak to show her capacity to let love lead the way. You are love, lovable and loving. The energy of love is surrounding your whole world at this time. Angels are swirling around you, encouraging you to open your heart and reveal the blessings that you have to offer. They want you to know that you are a highly loving being who deserves to give and receive love. If you are finding it challenging to feel love at this time, it's important for you to give yourself credit where it's due. You are also encouraged to welcome support from others. Learn to receive. Dude, don't try and do everything on your own. If you are working on a relationship or are in a new relationship, this card can usher in energies that allow you to forge a powerful connection with your partner. Love is in the air. I mean, come on. Of course it's on point.
100%.
Yeah, so that's me. And now, Sarah, did you want me to pull a card or Steph to pull a card?
Yeah, I'm just going to grab your deck today. Yeah, the Angels and Ancestors sounds cool.
Great. And fun fact, there's a train going by. I don't know if my microphone is going to
You can't hear it.
echo that out, so we'll see. All right, I'm going to shuffle, and Sarah, you just let me know when to stop.
Oh, boy.
Just grab 2 cards.
That one.
Bottom.
Whichever one you're touching. Because I can't see it all the way. I can't see your fingers. Here we go.
You got the Water Guardian.
Oh, she's gorgeous. Wow, she's a hottie.
She is beautiful. Connect with your emotions. Okay, Water Guardian. This is going to be easy because I pulled Heart Guardian, and she's in the same part of the book. Remember when I said, may it be easy? I just manifested that. Thank you very much. Okay, so take time to understand how you really feel. Know that your sensitivity is not a curse, but a gift that allows you to receive, and understand messages directly from your soul. Water is the element that is in your blood, your tears and your flesh. The Water Guardian represents the angels of water, who can help you dive within to understand the depth of your emotions. These angels are all about helping you see that your emotions aren't just the feelings that are on the surface. They are also old emotions you may have locked deep within the shadows of your soul. This is a perfect card for you, Sarah. Holy moly, You'll find out why. Okay. Let's see. Through helping you acknowledge your deepest emotions, the angels of water help you to hear the messages these have for you and to unlock your intuitive powers and the energies of abundance. Dude. Your angels want you to know that it's okay to feel the emotions that are surfacing in you at this time. It doesn't matter if they are joyous or sad. They are all powerful messengers that allow you to understand what you want and need. Taking time to breathe and acknowledge them lets them flow through you rather than crashing down on you as an overwhelming wave. Note that there are also intuitive/psychic messages arising in you at this time. And unless you acknowledge everything as it comes up, you may miss important guidance that can lead you to support and love.
I love it.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you. I received that. Honestly, my card was almost like a mix of the both of yours.
I know. That's what I thought immediately.
Right down the center. That was so cool.
Isn't it cool? Oh my gosh. Thank you. More of this, please. Danielle Gaudet is an emotional healing and integration guide who works with sensitive, soulful individuals who are ready to relate to their emotions with more compassionate awareness. She's offering a free 2-part video experience called Healing Your Relationship with Yourself, because she believes that Self-relationship is the foundation of all wellness.
Inside these videos, she explores what emotional healing now means to her after 25 years of inner work and guides you through an emotional integration meditation to help you come back to into a loving connection with yourself.
So now I get to introduce our guest, and you'll see why this card was so on point for Sarah. So Sara Miley is an experienced crisis advocate and an IFS-informed trauma healing and lifestyle design coach. Through her own learned and lived experiences, she is passionate about helping survivors find the roots of their suffering. Mm-hmm. By making sense of their trauma, they can make meaning out of their healing. Her focus is on survivors of developmental, childhood trauma, attachment wounds, emotional abuse and neglect, CPTSD, those who struggle with the emotional and relational after effects of dysfunctional formative years. She is the owner and coach of Circle Wellspring LLC, the founder and coach-sultant of the Personalized Trauma Healing System, and the host of the Trauma Survivorhood podcast. She is available for private and group consulting, interviews, press, podcasts, and trauma-informed consulting for business. So welcome to Smiling Soul, Sara Miley.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, we are excited to have you. And so my first question is, what does this mean? CPTSD. So I'm used to seeing PTSD. Yes. What is the C? What does this mean?
CPTSD stands for complex PTSD. So it is a type of PTSD that was not specific to an acute trauma, like a car accident or a train crash, plane crash, a stranger sexual assault. It's not the chronic stuff, which would be like your ongoing war veterans, your ongoing negative relationship, like a narcissistic spouse for many years, or parental ongoing trauma with having like a medically fragile child. That would be a chronic situation. Complex PTSD is multiple layers of multiple types of traumas during multiple lifetimes, years throughout your lifetime by multiple abusers or negative toxic relationships. So it's kind of, it layers itself. And the reason that it's an important distinction is because when you have the layering, you have layering of protective mechanisms, you have sometimes chronic coping behaviors that really actually started when you were like 2, 3, 4 years old, and you're still kind of doing them and you're not really sure why. The brain may have been wired in abuse, neglect, or stress. And so if you were still in those developing years, now you have actually on brain scans, your brain chemistry has been changed and altered. It looks like you've had multiple TBIs. Your prefrontal cortex can be smaller. A lot of different things can happen in your brain if it was happening during development. And then you're more prone to finding yourself in toxic relationships, not quite sure of your identity, not really finding your purpose and your passion, maybe not being in a career that's very uplifting for you, that kind of thing. So it layers itself. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we talked, you were talking about how you help people, whether they have big T or little t trauma. So can we even just break that down, like, you know, and how trauma impacts our bodies and our wellness?
Yeah, absolutely. So psychology is kind of getting away a little bit from big T, little t, because it implies that the big T stuff is actually the big important stuff. And that's a lot of the chronic and acute stuff. And then what they would generally say, little t trauma, would be, well, mommy and daddy just didn't love you enough, or you didn't necessarily feel safe. Okay, little t, right?
God, I feel like that's a really big T.
Right?
Exactly. So that was how they kind of delineated it. Was it like big, huge, giant stuff that you can name, you can claim, you can figure out, you can understand, you can go back to, you have memory of, you have language about it. And then the other stuff was like, well, you don't really have language and you're not really sure why, or it wasn't really something that probably didn't impact you all that much. And so we've gotten away from kind of using that word, although you will still hear people kind of say that. That's where that like acute, chronic, and complex kind of takes in. The same thing happens, the same fight, flight, freeze, the same type of coping skills come in to protect you. The same things happen in your body. All of these mammalian and reptilian responses still happen. You can still have flashbacks. So someone who has like childhood trauma may or may not have the same type of flashbacks as someone in a war trauma, but the brain is doing the same thing, which is trying to compartmentalize it. So the easiest way to say what trauma is it's not the experience. It is not the car crash. It is not the sexual assault. It is not the parent that didn't love you or neglected you. It is the response that you have to being in an abnormal response, and your brain goes, well, what was that? Where does that go? Where should that live? So I'm sitting here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 objects in front of me. These are of no consequence. My brain is processing them. It sees them, and just the energy of them just flows through. It sees the brown color and it just moves through. It doesn't care anything about it. If something were to happen where like this lamp catches on fire, we're not going to just let that flow through and just leave it. We're going to either respond to it, or we're going to shut down, or we're going to go get some water. Or if my prefrontal cortex goes offline and I start numbing, now I don't know what to do. I can't call 911. Hopefully you guys will see and call 911 for me, right? Like, it depends on how you respond to the thing that happens. And if an energy and a situation cannot process through cognitively, emotionally, spiritually in your body, it gets stuck, it gets trapped. That's the trauma that kind of lives there and sticks there. And so the work can be done to move the energy, to move the cognitive thought, to move the emotion through. So if you have like a really giant grief, you lose a child, or if you're a child and you lose a parent, you're really, really young, and your brain goes, where does this go? What box does this go into? Your brain's constantly trying to defrag itself. That's what it's doing while we're sleeping, is it's putting stuff into a box. It's going, I don't have a box for this. This hurts so much. Let's numb it. And it's grief that wants to come out and move through you. And if you don't allow that to happen, it will get stuck, and it can affect your body. It can affect physiologically, neurobiologically. That's where those brain changes come in when you're in childhood trauma, that kind of thing. Yeah. And TBIs, of course, with war veterans and car accidents and things that happen to your physical brain. You can actually have those same responses to your physical brain based on the trauma that you've had if you were young and you were still developing.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And TBI is traumatic brain injury.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like long-lasting. On brain scans, you can see long-lasting damage that has happened, right? And the reshaping of different things. And an overactive amygdala, if you grew up in that, even chronic trauma can do that, because your amygdala is lighting up. That's like your alarm system telling you that something's not safe. And so now it's constantly looking for the next safe thing. It's looking for the thing that looks like that scary person, or it's looking for anyone to escalate, like with aggression constantly. So your amygdala would actually have more firing in a brain scan if you have that. We call it hypervigilance. So yeah, there's literally brain activity that changes, right? Areas of the brain that can't always. I was actually thinking, as you both were talking about your latest things that are going on. And to use an example, once you're I'm trauma trained, but anyone who's trauma informed, you start to see the world through a trauma lens. So you have this beautiful group about receiving. And it's like, there's, boom, right there. You said the word block. It's like that could be a trauma block for someone if they don't feel like they deserve it, if they were always told they don't deserve it. And sometimes you can learn it, you can train it, you can kind of move through the fear of it and say, okay, Wendy's going to help me and move me into the ability to receive. And for some people, they need to do much deeper work. And then you were talking about,
storytelling and stuff.
The storytelling, right? And I was like, oh, fictionally, sure. Like, okay, being creative and being writing, which actually technically may be something that someone struggles with if they had a lot of childhood trauma where they didn't learn how to play and be creative. It wasn't safe for them to rest and play. And so creatively, even, it could be an issue. But if it's storytelling your own story, could be completely terrifying. For someone who how can I tell my story? Oh my gosh, my family might find out about it, or I don't want to, there's a lot of shame that comes up for it and things like that. So once you have a trauma lens, you're kind of like, you see the opportunities that are there for some people, and for other people, there would be blocks there. And that's where we can find ways to heal and go deeper. Like all of the cards said about going deeper.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, when I first launched my first Creativity Unleashed program, every single person in that group joined it for the self-care, not the creative, because all of them identified as not creative. One, I labeled it as creative trauma. Like, she literally was like, I was in a high school art class and the art teacher walked around the room, picked up my piece and went, who did this? It looks like a kindergartner did it.
Like,
and I was so horrified. And I was like, this is why 90% of what we're going to create is absolutely abstract, because then you're gentler on yourself.
Yes.
You can realize, oh wait, I can make art. And I looked at her, I go, well, who's to say that, like, we can look at a Picasso and half the world thinks that that's shit.
Right. Exactly.
And half the world thinks it's brilliant.
And it's still worth millions,
and
no
it's
matter
still
what.
worth millions, no matter what. Yeah. Or like a Roscoe, you know, it's like, all he did was slap some paint on there. Well, yeah, but some people think it's brilliant, you know? So, yeah, it doesn't,
so
it's
true.
all in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's just helping them find that it's okay. It's okay to create, and that in doing this work, you don't have to be brilliant at it, but it's moving. It's moving the energy through you. It's allowing you to find some joy. It's sparking up that side of your brain that allows you to be innovative and joyful and happy and, you know, all those things that sometimes you're lacking for one reason or another, you know?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's trauma in a nutshell. The other way I like to say it is that trauma isn't just what did happen to you that shouldn't have. That is one thing, right? But it is also what didn't happen to you that should have, right? Did you have emotional support? Were you safe to express yourself? Was it safe for you to be creative, to play, to rest? Did you ever learn how to properly take care of yourself, how to budget money? Like, all of these things that should have happened to you naturally as a child, and as the interdependence of teen years, and then someone helping you launch into independence. Did you have a caregiver that was receptive to your needs, that attuned to you? Did you have a partner down the line? You know, when you're older, you're an adult, did you have a partner who loved you for who you were, or were they constantly trying to change you, right? Those would be both sides of that coin, right? They didn't love you for who you were, and then they were constantly trying to change you, and neither one of those, one should have happened and one shouldn't have happened, right? So it's really a combo of those things, of what needs and basic life needs, right? Because that would be more on the abuse spectrum. When a child is that neglected, where their basic needs of clothing, schooling, food, etc. need to be met. But there's so much more in childhood that needs to be met, that isn't always being met. And so there's like emotional trauma that happens there. And sometimes that's abuse, and sometimes it is not. Because sometimes it just happens that your parents don't have the tools. Maybe you have a sibling. We call it the glass child syndrome, or well child syndrome, where you have a sibling who's very ill, either mentally or physically or autistically or whatever, and the other child just kind of gets neglected and thrown to the wayside because you're well enough, and so you don't need all of this attention, and mom and dad have to bring this one to the doctor 3 times a week, and all of these appointments and surgeries and all this stuff. They don't mean to neglect you. They love you just the same. They have run out of energy and resources. So it's not always, trauma is not always abuse. Abuse is always trauma, but trauma is not always abuse. It's not, I mean, a car accident, if it's an accident, it's an accident, but it can still traumatize you physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, but it might not have been someone, you know, ramming their car into you on purpose, you know?
Right.
So,
exactly.
Yeah. So it's really great to kind of delineate it out and make sure that we know what it is, what it isn't, and how to define it. So, yeah.
And then you had mentioned that the trauma, people are finding that like 70% of autoimmune and inflammation is rooted in trauma.
Yeah, trauma survivors are way more likely to have autoimmune inflammatory diseases, migraines, and GI issues. A lot of us have all of them. So that's fun. It especially, interestingly enough, especially women, and that is the internalized nature that women have been generationally subjected to, right? Where we're not allowed to necessarily get out our emotions. If we cry, it must be because we're on our period, and that better be over in a couple of days. It's not as common and accepted for us to get out aggression, not necessarily in a violent way, but we're just now seeing women kind of getting into like kickboxing and MMA fighting and these kind of things where we can physically and when more violently or viciously kind of getting that energy out. You know, we weren't even weightlifting. We were just on our little treadmill and Susie Homemaker for so long, and we were just taking care of the kids, where it was really common for men all the way back to, the Roman times, right? We always see that with the gladiator fighting. That was all men, right? And so now we're knowing now that we can talk more about our story, getting our story out of us. There's less stigma. As long as you can work through your own personal shame. Sometimes it's like the stigma of the culture goes down, but your own personal shame is still kind of there. But if you can work through the both of those and kind of meet yourself to now you're telling your story, you're getting it out of your body, you're moving it out. There's less sickness that can come from that. So right now we're seeing a huge uptick in these numbers. I mean, just as medical science is, let's be honest, as medical science is now reaching the likes of us females, gender cis females. So much of science and medical stuff was based around men. So now that we've got women in there, it's like, oh, wow, we're noticing.
Finally.
Yeah, finally. It's like, oh, actually, do we know the new science? Aspirin does not work for female heart attacks.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for finally bringing us into the research.
No.
They just were like, this is a thing. If you're having a heart attack, you chew those aspirins, right? You take your baby aspirin every day. And they actually find that for a woman's heart, I mean, we have completely different heart attack symptoms also. You'd think that would have clued them, but that's a very new kind of discovery. Actually, we've done some more research, and that's actually not super effective for cis females. Oh, thanks for bringing us into the studies. So the more that they kind of work this up, they're like, oh, we hold a lot of stuff. We carry a lot of stuff. We are generally the emotional load bearers in families. And that is starting in childhood, and it moves all the way later if we choose to be wives and have children. That moving into that being emotional load bearers, we're not just holding our own stuff inside, we're also holding everybody else around us inside. Yeah, that is, it's a very gender stereotypical thing to talk about, but it does seem to be across the board pretty stereotypical. So it's important to talk about how can we move this through our bodies? How can we work through these things? And like, for instance, I started migraines when I was 8 years old. And so for 35 years, I've had multiple different types of migraines. I still have them sometimes, but I've been able to work through some of them. Some of the migraines have been able to speak to me and tell me what their protective mechanism was. That's more IFS stuff, which we can get into if we want to, internal family systems, working with your physical somatic situations as parts. And some of them I've been able to release. And the more stressed I am, the more migraines I'm going to have, right? So it definitely is a protective mechanism to dysregulation, right? And so that's looking at it somatically, and even psychological things and cognitive neuro diverse stuff. It is a form of dysregulation. So the more regulated you can learn to be, the less these chronic things can plague you or need to plague you, because it's a protective mechanism. And so they're finding all kinds of somatic healing and physiological, biological, neurobiological healing when you're doing you're letting your trauma out, letting it finishing that process. Remember, I was saying it gets stuck. If you can finish it processing through you, it no longer has to live in you. So yeah, I know that's a huge topic. So I'll throw it back to you guys.
Well, so this is brilliant what you're sharing, and I can totally understand how you can help someone. And backing up, someone coming to you, do they know they have trauma? Following up with that question, do they need to know they have trauma? Is it just, maybe I need to talk to Sarah? Like, they're not identifying I might have trauma.
You know, there's a bit of stigma with people with trauma survivor using that word. Some people do not like that word, and that's okay. Some people can identify a high chronic stress situation. I went through a divorce. My child is suicidal. My child has, a chronic medical condition. I was in this really bad car accident, and then not just the car accident, but then afterwards I had to fight for compensation, and I was out of work for 2 years, and we lost our home. Yeah, I would say those 3 years were pretty high chronic stress. Yeah. And so we can identify that. Some people can recognize in their homes what happened in their childhood as just, I don't know, something just didn't feel right. And I don't know why I am this way, but I keep finding these relationships that are really toxic, or I find it really hard to trust people. It's very symptomatic. And then they're like, I don't know, like, I feel like I had an okay childhood. I feel like, I mean, my parents were there, like, we had education, but then you dive in and maybe you find that there was a lot of, so you go back to your little parts, and that little like 5-year-old who's in kindergarten, who should be coloring and playing with Play-Doh, was supposed to get all A's. And if she came home with anything less, and like, why were you even in a school when you were 5 that was giving you grades? But okay, so there's a lot of stress. It's like, oh, maybe that's why I'm so hyper productive. Maybe that's why I'm such a high achiever. And like, I'm exhausted and I'm like 28 years old, right? I have a lot of clients like that where they're still piecing together what may or may not be trauma, but they're utilizing it based on their symptoms. And so I say, yeah, if you're struggling with what we call hypervigilance, constantly being aware of your surroundings, what might look like social anxiety, which may or may not be diagnosable as social anxiety, doesn't matter to me. Nothing I do is diagnostic, pathological, or clinical. I work with the person as they are. So symptomatic of social anxiety, it's like, well, when we kind of get down to it, one of my clients just, she calls it social anxiety, which is fine. So I meet her where she's at. We call it that. But it's really just everywhere she goes, she has to wear this mask. She has to be absolutely perfect. She is terrified of making a mistake or saying anything wrong, right? And so, of course, you don't want to be out in those situations. Of course, you come home exhausted. I can't even tell you whether you are an introvert, ambivert, or extrovert, because you're just exhausted from not being able to be authentically yourself outside, right?
Yeah.
So this isn't a personality trait. This isn't necessarily an anxiety. It's presenting as what we label as social anxiety. But the symptoms there are actually, when we get to the root of it and the depth of it, I'd be exhausted too if I couldn't be myself. In fact, I lived like that for like the first 30 years of my life. Yeah, it's exhausting. Yeah. And so then you don't want to be around people, or you're so concerned about whether or not your friends are having fun. You're not sure, like, silence is not okay. You have to fill the gap. That's exhausting. So you go to a party and you're like in the bathroom crying, and then you're like, okay, get it together, go back out there, and you just can't wait to go home. And then your body no longer wants to go to those situations. So now it feels like what we label as social anxiety, but there's depth there to it. So utilizing your symptoms to kind of diagnose whether or not, is this hindering me? I hate this job, but I feel stuck there. Why do I feel stuck? I don't know, but I can't get out of this, so I'm just in this. That would be like a symptom. If you're ready to say, I don't want to be here anymore, but I don't know how to get out, that would be the type of person that comes to me. There's just something, there's just a stuckness. They're not sure. They don't even necessarily have to know where it comes from. It's just a matter of, I'm ready to look at this and examine this, and this is really hindering me, and I want to make change. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that definition of someone that they're just kind of ready to examine. I'm curious. I don't know what this is. Can we like have a conversation?
Exactly.
That is gorgeous. And then you can like really have that and dive deep and really find out what it is.
Exactly.
Right? And I feel like once your client knows, oh, this is what it is, is there like a relief, like, oh, that makes sense. And
it always makes sense. Exactly. So in IFS, internal family systems, some of your listeners might know it as parts work or inner child work, but internal family systems is rooted in this idea that we have never been able to prove wrong, that every single part, every coping mechanism, every behavior, whether or not it's healthy or unhealthy, all the way down to suicidality and homicidality, which we would think, oh no, absolutely, that's really bad. When you find the intention of what that part is trying to protect you from, it always makes sense. It is always rooted in a healthy decision. We think of something like an irrational fear. My clients will say this, I know it's like an irrational fear, and logically I know, but this is what I'm afraid of. And I'm always like, I don't like that word irrational, because if we find the part, we ask it what it's doing, we befriend it, we help it, we get in there, we dive deep, it's completely freaking rational. I'll tell you that right now, right? And so it's presenting now this situation. It doesn't make any sense. It's a little irrational for this situation. But does your little baby 6-year-old or 7-year-old part know that you're even 52 yet? Does it even know that you're an adult? Does it still think that it's back here? Yes, it does. This is where it believes it lives. And so for it, it's totally rational. It's like, you are not doing this again. That was really scary. Remember when you did that in 2nd grade? And you got whopped for that when you got home. You have to let that part update. You have to help it trust you. There's a whole process there of like unburdening it from its fears and worries, but it's never going to be irrational.
Yeah.
It just presents like it now, and you're kind of like, I'm over this. I want to be done with this. Logically, I know this makes no sense, that I can't leave this relationship, but I don't know why I can't. I'm so afraid to do it. We'll figure that out when we go to the depth of it and going to the roots of it. And that's where I personally use internal family systems, personally and professionally, as my preferred modality. But there's other interpsych kind of models that can go back and kind of, you're changing the narrative, you're rewriting that script, you're reframing a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of what we're doing. Yeah. Yeah.
What you just said, Sarah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
That is so comforting, right? For someone that's like, what you said about perfect. I mean, Steph and I were talking about this earlier. I was that perfect person. I had to show up perfectly. I had to be perfect. And it was freaking exhausting.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to deal with that and get through it. And so that version of me is long gone, right?
Yeah.
Where was I going with this? I don't remember.
We'll figure it out. Is what you're saying?
We'll figure it out. But so I relate to that. And so if I were that person, and I heard you say, we'll figure that out, I'd be like, I can just feel my nervous system go,
Yeah. And it's important to also note that sometimes we have layers of protectors as well. So you might have perfectionism as one of your protectors that's protecting this little kid that got in trouble when she wasn't perfect, right? And that protective mechanism might also have a protector that says, shame. I'm ashamed of this perfectionism. So we might have to work with and then the shame might have another, this is where we get into shame spiral, if there's more shame on top of the shame, and then before you know it, you're just shameful about everything that you are and all the things. But from there, then you might have a part that's angry about the shame because you've got this part that came and is protecting the shame. And it's like, I want you to go away so we can work on this perfectionism, because perfectionism is tired, right? And so all these different layers come in, and these guys have to kind of step back. Eventually, the protector that's covering what we call the exile, the abandoned part of yourself, the one that holds the pain, the guilt, the one that got in trouble when she was little, the one that we said, no, it's too much grief, like when I was using that example, and if you don't let it move through, if it pushed down and went away, it gets sealed, and we call it an exile. Some people think of it as like an abandoned part. Protectors will come to make sure you never touch that pain again, ever. No, it's not. It's scary. The whole system is afraid of this little exile's pain. It's going to overwhelm you. You're going to die. Sometimes it thinks you're going to die, right? So your protectors, they come and they layer, but eventually you can kind of clear that air, find the exile, work through her pain, let her actually heal. We call that a full unburdening. The other side of it is like you just getting to know your protector. So I have protectors that haven't completely unburdened because they were useful with so many exiles. And so rather than all that work, I just get to know this protector. And we call that a self to part relationship. And so I can notice, I hear you again, drill sergeant. You're a little loud today. Can we turn it down? Remember, I'm a grown up. I've got this. I know there's a lot on my list, but we're okay. And he'll go, yep, sorry, I got a little revved up again. I'll relax, right? And I know what he looks like, and he has a name, and I have a relationship with him, and I can talk to him, and it's okay. There's no harm there. In fact, a lot of times he's just helping kind of prod me to be motivated, but sometimes he gets back into his anxious mode, and he needs to kind of scream at me a little bit, and then we have a little conversation. And so there's also a bit of like the unburdening of the protectors, their jobs, or at least their intensity. We call it like a dimmer switch. And so there's options there. You don't have to clear your whole system of every pain it's ever had. You just learn to be in more self-leadership on a regular basis. So you're more in that we call it self-energy. Yeah. Yeah.
So did the Inside Out guys like interview you before they made that movie? Because
Dick Schwartz was Dr. Richard Schwartz was interviewed. He's the founder of IFS. He's been doing this for 40 years. Dick was interviewed at one point, and people would ask him that. He'd be like, "No, but if they want to use me as a consultant for the next one that comes out, I wouldn't mind some of that Pixar money or whatever." He said
it was so funny. But it's like as you're talking, I'm seeing anger, I'm seeing joy, I'm seeing all of them talk to each other, and like, you know, that they're allowed to be there, but and like, yeah, when they get through those stages like of hiding things or whatever to make, you know, and then they realize like it's not going to work. You can't do that, you know. Oh no, she froze.
Oh, I think she froze.
No.
Come back,
Give her a
Sarah.
sec. She'll come back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're completely right, Steph, with the Inside Out thing. And I just love how she's having a conversation with her drill sergeant.
With herself. Yeah, with her drill sergeant.
So how powerful is that? Like, okay, drill sergeant, you're a little loud today.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just dial it down a little bit?
Yeah.
Like, how powerful is that?
That's amazing. That's so amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah.
And I love that. Well, we'll figure it out.
Yep. Yeah. That's okay.
No worries. And this is a good segue into, you mentioned your podcast you used to have. And that brings me to this question. Like, where can people find you? Mm-hmm. Obviously, we're just kind of scratching the surface of the layers today. But if someone is like, I want to go deeper, I want to learn more about this, where can they go?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would just send them to my website, fullcirclewellspring.com. All one word, Full Circle Wellspring. From there, you can find all of my media stuff. You can find my podcast, which is a ton of resources. I did a ton of interviews. The mission was to bring the stigma down on all of these types of traumas. There's no trigger warnings on any of my podcasts, and we are resourcing and free resourcing. I do offer a 30-minute free discovery call. We can sit down, no obligation. You can tell me what's going on. I may not even be the best one to work with you. You might not feel the vibe. There might be something there that I know someone has like an expertise in, but I can give you referrals and resources to make sure that you are moving along on your journey. And I have a free assessment as well. We didn't really get into lifestyle design, but to me, lifestyle design is kind of the cornerstone of trauma healing journey people moving from surviving, stuck in constant survival mode, moving into thriving and finding more joy and abundance. So I have a whole comprehensive, almost like a personality assessment, but we're looking at all these aspects of your life to kind of see, where are you right now? Where do you want to go? And then we can help you to get there. So there's tons of free resources on my website. There's a little green gift box down the bottom of any of the pages. It's all down the bottom right-hand corner. You click that and it gives you a free PDF of tons of different grounding and orienting resources for nervous system regulation to kind of help you when you're triggered. So just a million different things. I love resourcing people. I joke and say that's my middle name because I don't have one. So Sara Resourcing Miley, that works, right? Like I love to help people with that aspect because I've been there. I've tried a million different modalities, inner psych ones, hypnosis, psychedelics, body-based ones, somatic reconnecting. I've tried and worked through so many things in the last decade. So I've got great resources for people and referrals, recommendations, all that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that it's like a little gift box.
You're welcome.
So
visit
Sarah's website, click on the gift box. We'll have that in the show.
Yes. Did you have another question?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
No.
Okay.
No, I just
yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. This was
Thank you,
fantastic and amazing
This
conversation.
is great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
There's so much more depth. I mean, we could talk about this stuff for hours and hours and hours. So yeah, anyone who's thinking maybe, I've got some of these symptoms. Not sure where this might come from. Yeah, we can dig down and find some roots there. Find some healing. Yeah.
Awesome.
Love it. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. All right. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.